Alright, so this one is government pensions and allowances. There are quite a lot of allowances that eligible people can claim from the government. So, for example, there's the age pension for older people who have insufficient assets and income to support themselves. There's disability pensions for people unable to work. There's New Start allowance for people looking for work. There's youth allowance for young people. There's Oz Study and AB Study for people who are studying. So there are a bunch of different allowances. Most, if not all, come through Centrelink, and it's important to be able to calculate what you are eligible for. Mostly those come from online information, but for the textbook here we're using the tables they've given us. So anytime you're calculating these, you do need to check the conditions for eligibility and then what the maximum fortnightly payment is. So we're on page 168 of your little worksheet there, and there are quite useful tables for youth allowance, for Oz Study, and for AB Study for these examples here. So we're calculating the fortnightly allowance for each person. So Pablo, who's 17, who's a first-year apprentice living with his parents. Now, that says, since he's between 16 to 20 years, the only one we can be looking at here is youth allowance. Studying full-time as an apprentice, yes, they are. There we go, undertaking apprenticeship, or looking for work. So he ticks the youth allowance boxes. Check the conditions for eligibility. He is living with parents, which effectively says living at home. Single, no children under 18. So we're looking at $223 youth allowance for Pablo. Cameron, who's 27 and studying and raising a child alone. So, firstly, we check our conditions for eligibility. Oz Study is the only one he comes into with his age class here, and studying full-time or an apprenticeship. So, aged over 25, studying, yes, we can go for Oz Study. Single with children, $533.80. So really it's a case of just reading the information and checking the tables. So Sally, who's 32, studying and living with a partner and children. But I didn't leave in, I abbreviated that. She's studying part-time. I'm sorry. And so she's too old for youth allowance, and she's over 25 and studying not part-time, so no allowance for Sally. Now be aware that her children may well be getting some form of allowance depending on their age, but we're looking at Sally's allowance here. Greg, who's 16, homeless and has left school and is looking for work. So youth allowance at 16 to 20, looking for work. We go to youth allowance, single, under 18, not living at home, $407.50. Now Joshua is Indigenous, which tells us we might be looking at the AB Study if he's studying, and he is living with his partner and child. So we'd check the AB Study table. 18 to 21, single, no children, partnered with dependent child, 16 to 21, $447.40. So all we really need to be doing here is checking the eligibility, checking which allowance we're looking at, and then working out what category of living arrangements, study, etc. they fall into.